European Union official Fillippo Amato has advised Nigeria to further devalue its currency as part of measures to tackle the economic recession in the West African nation. Of course, Nigeria's central banks free-floated the Naira in June this year due to a slump in oil revenues that has hammered public finances. Amato reckons further devaluation will reduce imports, thereby removing artificial forex restrictions and, of course, avoid wastage of scarce resources such as the fuel subsidy. The EU official also told Nigeria to diversify its sources of foreign exchange away from oil. Now, the lead economist at Renaissance Capital, Charles Robertson, says that Nigeria needs to cut capital restrictions to benefit from floating the Naira. He says that the curbs partly explain the huge gap between the official dollar-Naira rate, which is around 315 per dollar, and of course the black market one, which is closer to 500 Naira per dollar.
315 is about fair value. We're there now. But that's on average of 20 years when oil prices were really high and oil prices were really low.
Yeah.
At the moment we're in the low place, which is telling you already that we should perhaps be on the cheaper side of that 315. And we have been as cheap on this model. This model tells us we were at the equivalent of about 670 to the dollar in 1995. That's when things were really tough. And we're not saying that that's plausible or likely. But when oil production's been hit and is down by a quarter, when oil prices have fallen by more than a half, you would expect the currency to have done more than shift from 200 to 315. The black market rate, the informal rate, saying 450, 500. Actually, it's closer to 500 today.
Yeah, 480 something, give or take.
So I think that's partly because it's so illiquid. But if I had to say where does the currency need to be to have a balance of supply, of demand and supply of dollars, probably 400 now.
Now, joining us with some insight into more on the state of Nigeria's currency is Deji Badmus in Lagos. Deji, as always, welcome to the show. Now, of course, it's obvious that despite the lifting of the currency peg, no gains have really been achieved. Even the AFD president, Akiwumi Adesina, said yesterday that the government should lift its FX restrictions if they want to see progress in the economy. Is the government still resistant to the idea of further devaluing the Naira and, of course, lifting those FX restrictions?
Well, first of all, Uche, the CBN will tell you that it is not true that nothing has been achieved since it floated the Naira back in July. I remember the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting the CBN held. The CBN governor actually came out to say between July and towards the end of September that the country saw about about $1 billion now of inflows coming in. So in terms of devaluation of the Naira, I don't think it's something that the Monetary Policy Committee, the CBN, or the government will be considering at this point. Fact is that the flexible exchange rate was adopted not quite long ago, sometime in July. And what the CBN governor has been saying is that that policy needed to be given time to actually take root, and that it wouldn't make sense at all for the CBN to now intervene. And the fact is that if you also remember that it took a lot of convincing for the president of the country, Muhammadu Buhari, to accept for that policy to come into place and for the Naira to be effectively devalued. It will be difficult to go back to the president to convince him to accept any devaluation, because, I mean, it's on record that the president has come out to say, well, he does not support devaluation, and that the latest devaluation we had has not resulted in that massive inflow that everyone had expected. So the general impression here, and that's what the general belief is that if Nigeria is able to sort out its forex liquidity problem, if it's able to earn more from oil and the crisis in the Niger Delta stabilizes, and then it is able to show up its reserves, then essentially the Naira will become appropriately priced, Uche.
Well, Deji, there still has been a lot of criticism when it comes to those policies. In fact, a number of Nigerian bankers, business people, foreign investors, including former CBN Governor Lamido Sanusi, are now warning that the government's management of the currency system is fueling corruption in Nigeria, which of course is already facing quite a lot of corruption. Now, give us some insight into how exactly this is happening.
Well, what the former CBN governor was actually referring to was, for instance, the system that operated in the past when the government had this peg on the Naira. When, for instance, in the official market, the Naira was exchanging for, say, somewhere around 197 Naira, and in the unofficial black market, it was exchanging for far more than that. Of course, that is the situation. Essentially, that's the situation you have now, because as we speak today, in the official interbank market, the Naira is just around 305 to 310. And in the black market, you have a situation where the Naira is almost hitting 500. Basically, what the former CBN governor meant was that when you have this kind of situation, it creates an arbitrage opportunity for people to just go to the official market, get Naira at a very cheaper value, and then get dollars now at a cheaper value, and then go to sell the dollars in the black market without actually using the money that's the dollars now they get from the official market for what they actually say they intended to use it for. But the CBN, as we know, has built in a lot of checks. It's not so easy for people to just access the interbank market, get money, and then just go away with the money. I know that check is in place, but there's no question at all that you still have that arbitrage opportunity. And of course, it's as a result of that gulf you have between the official market and the unofficial market. And for as long as that gulf remains, that arbitrage opportunity will be there. Right. But well, as Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has been saying, if we're able to bridge that gap and we're able to shore up liquidity now in the forex market, and especially our forex reserve, all of that will fall. I mean, things will just fall into place.
Well, we
and the
certainly
Naira
hope
will
so.
definitely gain against the dollar.
Yeah, we certainly hope so, Deji. Many thanks for those interesting insights. Deji Badmus joining us there in Lagos. Well,